Namaskar and welcome to Vatika, the Biophilic studio here at IIT Kharagpur Research Park. We are here today for another brand new edition or new episode of our special series on innovation cycles. And I have with me here a very special guest today. Well, I wouldn't call him a guest because he's as much part of all that we do here as anyone else is. So, welcome all of you to meet Mr.Jayanta Chakraborty. Jayantada has been known to me for a pretty long time and has been very closely involved with a lot of work that we do. But his professional background has been in the area of agriculture, research, and sustainability. Currently, he serves as a member of the board of the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and heads the Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development. So, Jayantada, before we start, maybe a little bit about how your career panned out and where you started, your early childhood, a little bit about that background and how you came to where you are today.
Thank you, Saurabh. I think first of all, I am privileged today to be here in front of you, and I was always an admirer of you for last 10 to 15 years, and seeing is believing. So this is a new experience, and which I will discuss during the course of our discussions also. But straightway coming to your questions, I was in Bidhan Chandra Krishi Viswavidyalaya. I passed out my graduations from there.
That is Kalyani.
Mohanpur, you can say, BCKV known as. Then straightway, I was aspirant for IS services.
Okay.
So I passed the IS preli.
Just before that, people say that BCKV, at some point of time, I had heard it is one of the biggest agricultural universities in Asia. Is that?
BCKV was earlier it is known as Kalyani University, part of Kalyani University. Then BCKV came into effect in the 1974. But it is all along, you can say, is a very wonderful university, and I should say, we are very fortunate to have professors like Professor Bidhan Chakraborty, Professor A.D. Chaudhary, Professor Amar Chaudhary, Professor T.K. Bose. They are the luminaries and they are the stalwarts in the agriculture, not only in India and abroad actually. So that way it is a great institute, and
this is very important, because generally when people talk about their career or their educational background, they talk about what they have learned or what their own achievements are. But the fact that you can actually refer to your educational background through the shraddha or the respect that you have for your gurus or teachers is amazing.
Very true, because today what I am, it may be small, it may be whatever it may be, it is because of my institutions and because of my teachers. And they have taught us like anything, like you say, like Gurukul, because we have two sessions in the during our courses. One is from morning, practical classes start from the morning 6:45.
Okay.
And it gone up to 9 o'clock. Then we used to come back to our hostel, have our breakfast, have our bathing, and then lunch. And then we used to go to main campus at 11 o'clock. And then we studied there up to 4:30 to 5 o'clock also.
So just to understand a little better, 6:45 to 9:30, this practical, what would happen there?
It is a typical, you can say, what farmers are doing.
Achha.
We are doing same thing. We have, many of us are not from the rural Bengal. So we don't have any idea about how ki kore chash hoy. So we went to the paddle field. Then we bullock this cart, everything, tractor driven, how to sow the paddy field. You see, paddy seedlings, sowing is also very good art, because you have seen in the movies or while going across the train, you have seen lot of ladies are sowing, but
Correct.
No, it is the how to sow this thing, where the finger should be there, how many seedlings should be there, and how depth you have to put inside this thing. These are all technology driven. If you put more deep, it is a problem. If you do too higher up, and you should not put more than 3 seedlings or 4 seeds at a time. If you see that 5 or 6 seedlings you are putting at a time, then it is a problem. So these sorts of training directly we have learned during our practical classes.
I remember once we were having a conversation with Shyam Benegal, who was talking about something related to this, and he mentioned that in some place he had learned and he had observed that they had a community song, and the song was actually about this, exactly what you're mentioning, that how much of the heel should be submerged in the water, that how much water they should, and how much they should put in.
It is there. Same thing. If you go to the tea garden, how to plug the tree, how to plug the teas, 2 leaf and a bud, and all this, to what depth you should prune it. All these things are all scientifically, but the thing is that the local tribes, actually they are your teachers.
Right.
They are your teachers. Actually, whatever I have learned in my life, I have learned from these field stuffs. Then in the professional life, my assistant, those who are working in the field, they taught me more than what I have learned during the hostel
In
time.
the theory, okay.
So that's why a doctor has a fixed body. That is the anatomy of the body is same. One human being, everything is same. But for agriculture specialist, you have wheat, you have rice, you have tea, you have so many species are there. So many diseases. So that's why you will not find any agriculturist who knows each and everything. He is specialized only on paddy or on wheat or on tea or on something. So up to graduation, we studied all subjects up to graduations. Then in the 3rd year, we take specializations also.
Okay.
But when you go to the post-graduation, it is specialized subjects that you will either study soil science or you study agronomy or you study plant pathology. So this is thing. And then when you go to PhD, then you go for a different project or a different subject. So altogether it is defined. And you see, you have to love it.
Yeah.
I am from urban areas of Bengal. I have never had an idea about agriculture. I went there, but think that it has a after first 4 or 5 months, I was thinking, am I in a right profession or not, right school or not? But from the first semester onwards, fell in love that it is a profession which will connect you with the rural folks.
Okay.
That is one of the things I think has helped me. And today also, whatever I am working, my major stakeholders are the rural families. So that way, then I joined corporates. I was doing a good job in German multinationals. I have worked there. Then I went to Indian-based multinational. But somehow, I was missing a connect about the environment and development.
Okay.
You see, environment developments are of the different sides of same coin. You cannot have environment without development, or development without environment also. So where to put a line? So that sustainability, that subject, I went for a 2 years course in Jadavpur University.
Okay.
That is in the Masters in Environment and Development. I studied there, and it was a really wonderful experience for me because I have the base of agriculture. I have a working experience in the corporates and with the rural people. Then I understand what is the utility of the water, what is the water river commission, how to streamline all those things. It is a very refreshing knowledge for me.
So this would be which year when you did your 2-year program in Jadavpur?
I did this in 2008 to 2010.
2008 to
2010.
So by then you had already
served long time.
Professional experience of
almost you can say 84, 16 plus, almost 20 years. Almost.
20 years.
Yeah. After that I went there.
Oh, so that itself, I must point this out, that itself is quite rare, especially in our country. Now I have seen that in US and in other developed countries, people go back to school or go back to college, in school in the sense, in college for education at a much later date also. When I was studying during my master's program, there were people who were above 50 who were my classmates. I was then in my 20s.
Yeah.
So there were some people, but in India that would not be, normally people wouldn't think.
It's difficult because when I studied, I was studying with 24 years old also, 30 years also. But fortunately, I was the most senior most person there. But the friendship with the youngsters are amazing. Amazing. And no, I should say, it is one of the most brightest phase of my life, where not only I made friends, I learned a lot. And Jadavpur, as usual, is a institutions of, I should say, there is no second thought about it. It's a great institutions for getting educations.
This is a very important lesson for all of you who are listening to this, whether you are running educational institutions or you are a student aspiring or you're working. See, it is possible. Here is an example of a person who has, in his early 40s, you would have been when you did this.
I
program?
did, yes, around when I was 44,
44.
45.
So at 44, after a very distinguished and a successful career in the industry, he decides to do a 2-year program on sustainability, which relates to his, and this is something that should be encouraged more and more. I think instead of thinking that education or institutional education is meant only to be completed by the time you are in your 20s and all that, and after that you have to, just go up the corporate ladder.
Absolutely, because knowledge has no end actually, number one. Even still now, whatever internet, because at night, 1 hour I keep for the studies actually. And as far the news is concerned, I follow BBC, then CNN, then French TV and all those, of course Indian TVs also. But the sort of knowledges you can gather from the internet now, that is amazing. Anything, before coming to here, I was saying about the actual meaning of Vatika, Biophilic and all those things. So what is explanations there? So that is the one thing people should, my point is that here, people should now invest time for studies and knowledges. Without that thing, because knowledge is permanent. Because where I work there, in the value system, we have 5 values actually. One is networking.
Okay.
One is your velocity. One is your collaborations. One is your accelerations. One is your knowledge. So knowledge, without knowledge, I tell you, there is no shortcut.
So velocity and acceleration are both related to performance.
Performance. And then networking is how you are connected in this thing. So then networking, collaborations, velocity, accelerations, all those things are required. But this will come when you have a knowledge. So without knowledge, it is impossible. That's why even nowadays lots of institutions are giving stipends or timing. You go back, study, because in lot of our batchmates and all things are now going for 6 months training program in IIM Ahmedabad or in other institutes, because it is required.
So now you did that program, and then how did that change your, after that, what were you more involved in once you did your environmental?
Then I really found that that basically, and as an individual, responsible individual, apart beyond your professional capabilities or commitments or services, what you're doing, you should be more primarily focused on 2 things. One is that you should be responsible for maintaining intergenerational equity. That intergenerational equity. That means now I am getting resources like fuel, like I am getting sunlight, I am getting water, I am getting air, all those things, irrespective of the quality, whatever quality I am getting it. At least my responsibility should be like that. In future, my son or my grandson or granddaughter, they should at least enjoy the same resources I am enjoying today, that they should must get it. So onus is on us how I maintain, manage, save natural resources sustainably and responsibly. So that has really, these courses of 2 years course environmental development has shaped my mind that we should be more responsible, first of all, to the natural resources, natural ecosystems. Actually,
So once again, the term used is intergenerational equity, which means equity means the next generations, other generations should have that same share or same stake in the natural resources. We shouldn't be consuming it all within ourselves so that they are left with very little, which is what seems to be happening.
yeah, because you see, our predecessors, my grandfather, his grandfather, they are so responsible. Still now, you are getting undisturbed flow of petrol and diesel at your petrol pump.
Correct.
Now, these are all finite stocks.
Sure.
If you keep on extracting this thing, one day will come. So you cannot create oil or anything overnight.
Yeah.
So what you can do, you can replace with renewable energy. Then you should be more focused on the solar energy, wind energy, then other sorts of energy, so that at least the total ecosystem of energy should remain same for the future generation.
So since we are talking about fossil fuels,
Yeah.
yeah. So fossil fuels have taken hundreds and thousands of years to get formed, and we have actually used it all up in 200 years, less than that. So
Absolutely. So that's why you see, Western world has started exploiting during the revolution's time. They have-
Industrial revolution.
They have exploited it. What they have done or not, that is not the content of today's discussions. But they have exploited. They have made themselves rich. They have developed, and they are ruling the world. Now, these underdeveloped countries are now coming. They have also started exploiting these things, and they are also growing 3 trillion, 5 trillion. But at the cost of what? At the cost of ultimately resources. Who is responsible, whether developed or underdeveloped? That is a debatable issue. That is, will keep on continuing. But things that our daily systems coming basic, because we cannot contribute directly in the form of energy.
Yeah.
But what we can do about the nature, about the agriculture, about my surroundings, how we can do this sort of way I can grow my foods, this sort of way I can keep my water from the pollution. I can save the air from the pollution. All these things is in our control to a certain extent.
Sure.
So that's why I think I have seen your the initiatives here, where you are doing a lot of nature related activities. Then agricultural systems, what you have started is typically nature based. You are not doing any sorts of commercial on things. I think I am very influenced because of that. So my point is that should be the way forward for the future. I am not telling that overnight you change the cultivation practices, because you have fossil-based fuel or about the other resources should minimize, and you come back to basics. The way our predecessors started the agriculture of the you can say natural farming, then or you can say organic farming, or you can say low chemical based cultivation. So this should come, and I am sure these are also sustainable, and this will also take care of the future also.
Yeah, here, for example, in the IIT Kharagpur Research Park itself, amongst some of the very specialized R&D initiatives that we are focusing on, and these are somewhat at the periphery of the absolutely outer edge, I would say, are even things like the effect of audio or particular type of traditional ragas or even AI generated music on plants. So, and we found that there is some literature, some survey about, there is some influence that is there, but more needs to be understood. The deputy director of IIT Kharagpur itself, and who's part of the agriculture department, her PhD work and part of her research work was on this, and we've taken inspiration from that, and then we are focusing on it. And with the advent of AI, collecting all this data, experimenting with all this becomes much more easier. So I'm just saying that this is one aspect. The other aspect, for example, which I have seen in my own personal life, with certain cultivation of certain yogic practices, which involves techniques of breathing, because ultimately uh, the oxygen that we use comes from the breath that we take. So that I have seen influences how the food that I eat, that gets metabolized. And hence it is quite obvious that the amount of food that I would need in order to get the same kind of life energy might differ in the way that we do breath work. So the relationship between breathing and various other things like consumption is something that needs to be researched much more. We have obviously traditionally things like pranayama and those kind of yogic techniques, but these have to go through the the pass through the fire of scientific research, so that we have clearer models about how we can reduce consumption to start with. Because one of the food problem is that if we don't need as much as there is obviously malnutrition and all that on one side. On the other side, we have industrial level harvesting and industrialization of, let's say, fish farming at a level which is spoiling the water and the ocean and the rivers, and which, so these are all things that we have thought of. What I am trying to get to are, with your whole huge experience, which are those areas of, both in cutting edge, which are absolutely esoteric like the ones we said, as well as which are more mainstream, which are what there areas of research which startups, because the research park itself is a place for startups, for innovation. So which are those areas where youngsters can, or not just youngsters, I would say anyone in their whole career life cycle can focus on?
Absolutely, Saurabh. I think, first of all, let me openly confess the sort of wisdom and the thinking process you have today on the effect of ragas, on the effect of other thing. I think in India, it is you are much ahead of time, and I think this is a really I should say revolutionize the entire thing. So that is a very niche, very special subject which I think your research work should explore the potentiality, because nowhere I think such type of research work is going on. At least I don't know. It is such a wonderful things.
I hope that is, because in many of these things, people's comments are, "Oh, that is so way out that it is." I hope it is not way out. There is some.
No, it is not way out, because it is the beyond the imaginations of human mind, that nobody has tried so far to correlate the impacts of sound, ragas, or all those things on the plant. Jagadish Chandra Bose had once has told, plant has life. So if life is there, then why he or she should not respond to the sound waves, or the other ecosystems and all those things. So it is a very, I should say, thematic, very conceptualized and very high-end R&D work, for which I think IIT Innovation Park is the right place, number one. Number two, see, ultimately, whatever you are doing for what? You are doing it for that farmer should earn more earning. That is the basic thing.
Yes.
Because empty stomach cannot give you sustainability.
Sure.
So farmers' earning still in India is very low. It varies from 8,000 to 12,000 on an average per month for a farm family, which is very low. So I think, to my opinion, all researches, all innovations should be addressed and centered to the farming community. One lady farmer having 2-3 child, husband is working in a distant place for or a different. So how he or how she should have a very respectful life. So your research, your work, our work, everybody should focus on the better livelihood of the stakeholder like farmer. Now this can come through two things. One is through the standard practice, which is happening now, and one is through the integration of technology along with the normal one. So there I think IIT Innovation Park is the not only the place, is the best place, I think. See, with your background of your education and your technology overseas India for a long time, I think your domain of working in IIT Innovation Park, combining technology with the nature, I think should be the way forward things, where researchers should focus more on the technology part, how they can take the local ideas, transform into the technological domain, and give a wonderful product or services to the society. That should be the basic. Here, people should not come for work for new innovation of pesticides. It's not like that. Enough people is there, but how to combine tradition with technology.
Okay.
That should be the this thing where your AI, cutting machine tools, blockchain, so then your residue management, everything should be combined, and these young minds, they can play a miracle in improving the Indian agriculture.
Are there some specific examples that you might have seen in related to the area that you're saying, where some thematically I understand very clearly how traditional practices, etc., in India, which have survived the thousands and thousands of years, and more recently all the modern push also, although it seems to have got steamrolled, but still a lot of traditional practices survive. But if you can give from your own experience in this field some specific examples of how these could come together.
You see, take an example of any tea garden. Suppose we are producing tea normally, but how the technology should serve them, that the residue level of their plucked tea is understood by them at the factory itself, the technology.
Okay.
That now globally residue management is very important. So how they should be sure that whatever chemicals they have sprayed, that has no residue during the time of plucking also.
Okay.
So how this plucking is going on through the traditional process. But the technology should support them that you are plucked a quantity which as per the standard of the European Union, and you can send it for export also. So that sort of integrations is there. Then there are a lot of...
So just before we move on, this aspect of, I'm sure those of you who are already well aware of this tea plantation will understand residue management, but just for the benefit of those who have not understood, I just want to go a little more and make it a little more easily understandable. When you are saying residue management, are you talking about whatever has been sprayed on the leaves in order for better health, better quality of the tea leaves, that once they are plucked, the residue of those chemicals remain on the leaves? Is that what we are talking about, or how do you explain?
Yeah. Because in tea garden, there are a lot of pest and diseases are there.
Okay.
Which because in tropical countries like India, you have to spray chemicals.
Okay.
Number one. There are good chemicals. There are chemicals approved by Central Insecticide Board and FSSI also.
Okay.
So these are the things you have to spray. But every pesticide, there is a plucking period, that after you spray, you should not pluck the leaf before 5th day or 4th day or 6th day or 7th day.
Okay.
Because during that time, the efficacy, the residue level of it becomes neutralized.
Okay.
But if you pluck before that, then there will be residue, and this residue will go to the mate tea also.
Right.
Mate tea will also.
Yeah.
Then, if you don't have the blockchain technology, you cannot take from which plot it has come, or all those things come. So if you get it exported to Europe, then in the airport they will say, these are residue, these 20 consignments, please take it back or destroy it here. So my point is that whatever you are doing, it should be, tradition is there, but technology should support you, that you are adopting a practices which is viable and sustainable, and you don't lose any money because of that also. So that's how the safety net. The safety net should be there while doing your business.
So if I think of this more as an exact case study, then one is I can understand trackability.
Trackability.
That I can track where it has come from, so that I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. That is, when it is being rejected, it is not that the whole consignment is rejected. or the whole consignment, whatever is, where the problem is, that can be tracked. That is one.
Yeah, even if you see, even not only for export, in departmental stores, now the high-end customers, they also like to know how it is cultivated.
Okay.
So there is a QR code or scanning machine every mango or something. So they can trace that this mango is grown in Malda.
Okay.
These chemicals are being sprayed. This is the soil type. Everything is there. So it satisfies him that I am procuring a crop which is safe to eat, and it has also not disturbed the ecosystem, like the declarations in the movie hall that we, in the process of this, we have not hurt any animal or something like that. So here also, this farmer has used sustainable mode of practices, produced the crop which is healthy to eat. So I must support this farming technology, and I am also ready to pay little bit premium because he has maintained all the safety.
So this, for example, I can clearly see the mission that we are in, which is for expanding this network of Vatikas. Like you mentioned, this shooting itself is happening in the Vatika, which we have set up in the IIT Kharagpur Research Park as a prototype, as a proof of concept. But the real mission is to set up 1 million Vatikas like this, which means that every farmer, every village, every place, just like 1 million is because there are 1 million polling booths that are needed to conduct elections in this country. So elections is that festival, I say, through which you are actually reaching out to every family. There is no other such festival. We talk about religious festivals, but those are still not as vyapak or as exhaustive as the election, which touches every family. So we are saying 1 million Vatikas, but what I understand is that the connect is that if there is a Vatika in my locality, then as a farmer, I can rely on this Vatika to collect the information about the process that I am using for farming and make sure that this correct, honest information is reaching the final consumer. So in terms of connecting, providing this consumer, because a Vatika is a place where data can be collected easily, there are cameras and all these things are happening. This seems like one possible area of just collecting data which can be used in so many different ways.
And you see, and younger generations are much more concerned about the future. I'm just giving one example. One of my friend went to Punjab for a farmers training program.
Okay.
He was giving the lecture.
So to give farmers training.
Farmers training that you use this cultivation process in this way. You use this chemical which is very safe. Now approved by the government and everything. It was going very smoothly. At the end of the meeting, one child, I should say, around 13 to 14 years or 15 years old, he came out and said, "Sir, I have a questions. See, all our papas and uncles, all the things, they are cultivating basmati rice only for quantity, not for quality. Number one. Number two, they are spraying random pesticides into the thing. You tell me, as a responsible thing, how can I reduce? When I will take charge of this thing, you teach me how can I reduce it, and I can go for minimum round of spray, but I produce it, but I should not look for only the quantity as well as the quality also." So I mean to say, a 14-year student came along with his grandpa and asked these questions to a veteran trainer these questions. So that means the eagerness, the responsibility is very high among the young, because education is coming. Another point I'm telling, just before collecting this thing, we say we are younger generations.
But India is
our average is 26 to 28 years old. But mind it, our farmers' average is 50 years.
50 years.
50 years. This is a very important thing. We say we are very young, but our average rate of our farmers are 50.
This is very important.
But are we young in farming? So after 10 years, 15 years, what will happen to us? The younger generation is not coming to agriculture. So there is a backlog. They are going to all these easy to earn jobs. So, and that is why, as because younger generation penetration is not that high, the adoption rate of technologies is also not that high. So that you have to see. So here, Vatika should also focus, my humble suggestions, that focus younger generations also into their this journey of innovations. I think even younger generations, those who are in the 20 years, 25 years, they may not be from the agricultural community, but they should be appropriate because they are the future leaders.
So how to attract the younger generation towards this whole field of agriculture?
You see, my point is that you have created such a wonderful thing. Why don't you write a letter to University of Presidency College, St. Xavier's College? Please depute your 5 students. Only 5. Don't make
Yeah.
it a crowd.
Yeah.
And they see our model.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that it will be a talk of the town when they'll come and see and believe what is happening here. So my humble suggestions, even agriculture universities also,
Yes.
BCKV or UBKV or Viswabharati, you reach out to them and tell the Vice Chancellor, this is the model where we are working on reaching to technology by adopting traditionals, our traditions. And this process, we have developed these Vatikas and all those things. Our future is like that. So we like to collaborate with you. First, you send your students to understand what we are doing. Then you like to have one day understanding with you and all those things. You can invite Vice Chancellor. Very proactive Vice Chancellor is there. So my mean to say that it should spread actually.
Yeah.
It spread is because what you are doing, it is unique. Number one, it is not in practice. I have not seen, to my honest, not seen. So when
And you have seen a lot.
by the grace of God. But thing is that if you are doing such a unique thing, such innovations, such dedications, and I have also seen your passion and your desperations, your frustrations over these subjects also. But the sort of passions you are holding, I think my request will be to reach out to the 20 to 25 years age gap students, those who are doing BSc, MSc and PhD, to come and say whether they remain in agriculture, non-agriculture, hardly matters. But focus area should be botany, zoology, agriculture. These 3 domain players should come here, should see, and out of them, you can also select few of them for your incubation center here.
Yeah.
They can work for there also.
So I would definitely, not just take your advice and suggestion, but also take you on that. We will make sure that this portion of this recording, because nowadays when you said write a letter, the letter is not just a letter which is a printout sent by postal mail. Since it will be a soft copy of the letter in any case, we'll make sure that this part of the video at least is linked. We make a short clip and made a link so that they know that this recommendation for those of you who are listening to this, to the vice chancellors of the different universities, the proactive ones, as you mentioned, and the students, young students, make sure that we can also think of doing events. For example, since Bengal Chamber is already something we can, as you saw, we have beautiful facilities here in the campus itself. Some event can be done focused on this. Not the same thing that everyone else is doing, but just focused on biophilia and how, a little more spiritual, I would say. It's not just the material part. It is there, obviously, the commercial and the material part. I think this has a touch of the spiritual in it as to how each individual has to change. Because what you spoke about, I think, is so important, that we are saying that this country has the demographic dividend and all that, young population. But on the other hand, you are saying, and which is all of you who are listening to this must pay special attention. We just heard that he's saying, and he has seen a lot. It is not that he's just anyone. Saying that the average age of the farming community is in their 50s. Right? Now, that does not make it a country of where there is demographic. So that India, the farmers' India, is not benefiting from the demographic dividend. And if that is the case today, as I understand, 10, 15 years from now, this will be they will be retired. And then the people who are coming in will be just struggling to do something without. That's really a serious one.
Sorry to interrupt you. This is the biggest challenge, I think, today. And there, as because that time, now suppose in India, we are having 14 to 15 crores of farmers. And if their age is, average age is 50, think about after 15 years what will happen. So, to fulfill our food security, I think technology has to be there so that same thing can be done by the wisdom and the technology and the AI and everything. But for which also your inclination, your motivation to the younger student should be also there. So that's why these sorts of infrastructure what you have created, that should also be demonstrated to the people that this is the one set of initiative which is totally unique in nature. Come here, give your comments. We are open to hear your suggestions, and we can adopt those things also. But make it a point that you please see and visit us.
Okay, coming back to some of the other ideas about what traditional practices, and related to traditional practices, what kind of technological innovations. I know I'm stretching you to kind of think in those lines, but if there's anything that you can think of comes to your mind readily, traditional practices which might, around which some research ideas or research areas can be thought of.
You see, traditional things are gradually changing now. We have seen earlier that paddy fields are generally gets waterlogged and 4 to 5 water is there. But nowadays, because water is the most scarce resources, so now it is coming different sort of cultivations also, where you need not to submerge the plot with the water.
Okay.
So it should be a different stage of coming is there also. Then you need not to direct seeded rice is there. You need not to prepare transplanted rice bed and then shift it is also there also. So similarly, another thing is what is happening now, changes in the global economy is coming. Maize has become the major area of importance. Be it feed, be it fuel, and be it economic power also. So that way, I think Indian farmer should be more flexible to the cropping system of his plot also. He should not only think, my plot is in Arambagh, I have 2 acres of land. Traditionally, I am going for potato, irrespective of the price I get. But he should also see if I can earmark some of the areas for the medicinal plants. Medicinal plants, ashwagandha, this thing. If I keep some areas for the exotic varieties of tomatoes, something like that. So it should be a agriculture which has moreover, people now agriculture should be perceived as a business point of view, and he should cultivate where the demand exists, not I am producing then I am selling. Problem is in India is that it is a production driven agriculture. But it should be converted to demand driven agriculture. What is my customer earning? If my customer is earning small onion, I should go for small onion, not necessary to see this thing. So this, what is being innovation, these innovations you can see in the varietal change, in this genetical modifications. This is a big subject now taking place in the agriculture startup ecosystem also. So this one area I should say that germplasm development of the crop, one. Second is biologicals. That biologicals development, India is now started very aggressively. A lot of startups are coming, those who are producing biologicals. That is, instead of chemical pest control, you should go for biologicals. So that area also, this area people can go work for it also.
So biological pest control.
Biological pest control, which has no questions of any residue, anything else. It has no. It is not for production of this thing. You need not to do oil extraction. It is a typically in lab you can produce it also. So one is biologicals, one is your germplasm development of the seed. Then of course mechanization is another one. That drone I think will be the biggest support of agriculture in coming years, not only for spraying, everything, for surveillance, for the locust movement, for the soil moisture, for the nutrient management. Everything is now in the future, so that 120 acre of plot should be controlled by one drone, and the farmer can see from his laptop also what is happening. But for this, again, I am telling you, as because farmers' age is 50 years, adoption rate is low. So there we need to intervene how the farmer should be supported, hand holding also, and how younger farmer can come.
So I think what I heard is that this two-pronged thing, as soon as we design technologies which are luring youngsters towards agriculture, that will bring them in.
Yes.
If we tend to keep things the way it is, then in any case it's a doomed future, because we won't have people who would want to do
Yes.
what needs to be done. So one example that I heard is that if there is a way by which, let's say, a 18-year-old, 22-year-old, 20-year-old in a village, the way he gets fascinated by apps in his phone, he gets an app which he is able to convince his older generation, his previous generation, that, hey, why are you doing like this? Do it like this. And then, show it to them. That would excite that person more, rather than following the way which his predecessors have.
Absolutely, because earlier, suppose manuring, whether manuring requirement is there or not, farmers started showing the manuring. But whether you need it or not. But in the app shows that in a plot of 1 acre, only right side 2 quarters of land has a yellowing variation. You go there and spray the chemicals there. No need to go those things. So this technology should be available through the apps, and that will excite the younger generation, and they will take it forward to their their seniors for adoption.
So, and these kind of things would be a very fertile ground for shared services model.
Absolutely, absolutely, because the way lot of in South India is much more advanced in the technology nowadays. So this drone, it is like you can book it like a Ola or an Uber.
Okay.
You just download the app, you book the spraying for chemicals in your plot with the drone. Tuesday, C30, area is suppose 4 hectares. Applicable rate is this 400 rupees per acre. Amount through the Google Pay. If you are paying it, this confirmation is coming, your booking is confirmed. My person will reach to you to the 325. Make these things available. So there is no hassle of all those things, because moreover, a drone, the way you can minimize the water through the drone spraying is, if you need somewhere 100 liter, that water can be within 20 liter or 30 liter or so. So one way is saving to the resources, and one is ease of doing business and optimization of your operations also.
So optimization of operations, ease of doing business, and then the other part we heard was more with the behavioral and the consumer connect, that area. These are the different areas where
we can do this.
So if we think of little more on because a lot of ideation is happening in the mechanization operations, that part, also information transfer and all that. What would you think are the behavioral areas where research can be focused on? Behavioral changes which are needed both on the supply side, that is towards the farmer side, and on the demand or the consumer side.
In the behavioral side, I think involving traditional systems, those adopted by the local fellow farmers or their wives and all these things, that should be highlighted to a great extent. They are the masters and they respect the nature like anything. So I think that's why the scientists, the younger generation, should be fine-tuned with the present practices and then should collaborate with them. And then the respect will come that these ladies, without knowing so much of technology and all these things, are doing a wonderful job. How to make it more comfortable, their life more easyable without disturbing the nature also. So that sort of hand-holding and research areas are needed now, because one is obviously about the saving the soil. Soil is one thing. I think that should be the most priority area. Second is the water conservations in agriculture. Soil, water conservations, minimizations of the chemical load per tree, per plant
And
to increase with the biological, so that residual problem can get eradicated gradually. And of course, the total agricultural plot should be planned in such a way that one way or other way he is earning more profit by the crop rotation, by the crop diversification, so that he or she becomes a successful entrepreneur and he has a decent life.
so, if these models of the economic models of how to diversify, what to do in order to maximize yield, not only yield or maximize profitability based on so many different factors. Yield is just one factor. Instead of focusing on maximizing yield, if a modeling is done plot by plot or family by family, and if this, because this will obviously, the modeling cannot be done by individuals sitting somewhere and doing this. But if this is done by using AI algorithm and proper data is captured about families, about
Yes.
this, then this information itself could be a great service to the people. Because if someone needs to do this job, as to, let's say I have a certain amount of plot of land in this area, and which traditionally I've been doing this kind of things, and the demand is like this and all that. So let's say this whole information, after gathering this information, someone had to do this planning. Now it seems to me that AI algorithms are very well equipped to come up with such models at scale, because it is not a model to be done for, so it's like a consultant. It's just like you have consultants, the big five for these big corporates. What I am seeing is, what I heard you say is that every farmer needs a consultant.
Obviously.
So, and consulting at that scale would not happen other than using something like the AI
Some tools.
So, if that consultant emerges, who is becoming the consultant for each farmer, in the entire agroinformatics, I would say, is doing that. But in a certain way, I don't know if this is happening as to the economic model of each farmer. How can is there a tool, or is there somewhere where I can go and they have collected information, which with satellite data, drone data, other ways and all that, whichever way, and based on that they are now saying, it's not that I am feeding my data, I have this plot of land. That was a little bit back, those kind of systems were there, which is, if I have to paint my house, I am filling in, okay, this is the length, breadth, and it is calculating and giving, okay, this is the amount of paint that you will need. So it's, instead of that kind of thing, taking in much more breadth of information, if AI can provide this, are there players operating at that level?
You see, Government of India is working on it. What they are doing it, they are now capturing all parameters of individual farmers. That what is the crop area, what is the cropping they have grown, crop wise, how much area is there, how is the source of water, what is the earning he is doing, how many tractors, everything is now they're capturing. And there's separate cell in Karnataka, they have already started it, and their data will be in the domain. So once that data is available, then it will be, because for you to reach to so many farmers is very difficult also. But if you have the access to the data, then you can fine tune with your tools, algorithm, all those things, what sort of consultancy you can give to that farmer. Because in an area, that total farmers are 5,000, but hardly 475 farmers are having tractors. So you can see these are the target farmers for giving a scale-up operations. These are the marginal farmer, for them I can give these tools also. So once the data is available, then with those data you can create the solutions for those farmers Oh, I think that will be the revolution in agriculture. The way we have Aadhaar card, I think government is also thinking for farmers Aadhaar card also, where all data will be captured also. So if that is so, that will be helpful for all the consultants in future for agriculture. They can play, they'll jump on it, and they'll jump on it, and they'll work on it.
So that again gives me a great hope for this. We were thinking what would be the strategies for scaling up the Vatika itself.
Yes.
And that gives me great hope, because what I again understand from what you said is that it is not a question of reaching that one point of time where we have captured all the data of the whole country, let's say, because data is going to be dynamic.
Yes.
So it's going to be a continuous
Changing,
process
continuous.
to continuously get this data, and based on that give them the recommendations. And therein I can see a role. We always think of the Vatika or the Vatika network as actually a relationship management platform. Just like people say it's a e-commerce platform or an online learning platform, these, I mean, different services, especially digital services. At one point of time, some years back, there was the notion of, are you building a product or building a platform? So that was a very in thing. Of course, these jargons keep changing. But I'm saying we have been thinking of the Vatika network, the million Vatikas, as a relationship management platform. And that what I hear you say is the vital element in that relationship management platform in a country like India would be continuously changing or dynamic data about agricultural practices.
Very true. Very true.
So that would, for those of you who are again tuning in and listening, it seems to me that there is some fodder for thought. If you're thinking about innovation, products and all that, well, we are at the IIT Kharagpur Research Park through this prototype, through the mission Biophilia. We're already thinking and working on this whole mission of 1 million Vatikas. But 1 million Vatikas will not survive without 1 million innovations. For it to scale up and survive and sustain itself, it will require 1 million innovations. And these are pointers which you're tuning in and listening from Mr. Chakraborty today. Anything else, Jayanta, which you think would be to kind of track back? Some of the most important things are, one is the demographic dividend part. We have to figure out how to lure more younger people into this agricultural domain. And one is this whole connect with tradition and technology, these two. Any other major bullet points that you would?
I think women empowerment in agriculture should be another area.
Women empowerment.
Women empowerment. And you see, highest number of laborers in India are the women.
Okay.
Highest. Agriculture occupies the highest you can say worker in the, not labor, worker in this thing. So empowering women in agriculture should be, because I'm not telling very high-fi rocket science for them, but ease of doing business for the women. How the cattle management should, because cattle management is done by the women only.
Okay.
In the morning. No husband, no father, no son, they don't touch cattle. Cattle is managed. So I think women empowerment should be given to them. And you are telling about something about the mindset change or inner development. I think our initiative should be that we should know how to respect the women agriculturists to a great extent, because they are the source of success of Indian agriculture so far we have achieved. So that's why I think integration of mental development towards giving more respect to the women farmer should be one of the areas where India can go beyond anything else also.
So that is another very, very interesting area, because interesting thing is, when I look at what has happened to society, on the one hand, while we remain a country which reveres the feminine power as such, we are devotees of Shakti, like Shakti, which is the phenomenon of feminine power.
Yeah.
We have been traditionally giving it more importance than most other cultures or most other civilizations. And yet, on a daily basis, what I actually get get, confronted with are these horror stories that women have to go through, family by family by family, especially in Indian villages today, which we thought is, not got ruined by the Western influence, etc. But the amount of ignominy that the average woman has to go through, especially in the, I wouldn't say just the rural sector, but in the sector which doesn't speak English,
Yeah.
or doesn't live in pakka buildings, which I actually call Bharat. If we can divide the country in
Yeah.
these two, India and Bharat, Indians are those who are speaking English and live in pakka houses, and Bharat is that segment which do not speak English and do not live in pakka houses. Then, at one hand, people say, oh, all this westernization and all that has changed us culturally, our roots are very strong, but in that segment, I see complete disrespect of women, to the extent that the amount of ignominy, harassment, simple violence on women is unthinkable. And that cannot change until and unless they are financially independent, and they are also, earning their
Yeah.
own, or contributing not just to the household in just traditional ways, but also in ways which are economic. And there it seems like a very big area which you are pointing to.
Yeah, with the see, DRE movement has totally uplifted the status of the women in Gujarat.
Yeah, dairy
dairy
movement.
movement.
Yes.
Because
okay.
they come, they get the money. It is really a revolution. So same way, I think some sort of initiatives we should take, innovation, ease of doing business, and to give more ownership of the business, all those things to the women in agriculture. I think that will, because they are very, very smart, loyal, and very respectful to the nature. So I think that talent, that commitment, and that belief we should inculcate into mainstream in agriculture, which will really give a new flair to your biophilic concept. I think that you can take it a point for including that women's empowerment
Women's
into your project also.
So just to kind of put a little more meat around that, is that a lot of the governments are giving very special privilege or thought to this, but just in terms of remaining in power. So we know that there are very special schemes that are now governmental, big, large budget governmental schemes, and they are becoming more and more popular because those schemes are helping parties to win elections, and hence these are becoming very popular. So the government loves to dole out specific short-term economic gains to women, and a lot of people complain that, well, the people in the government are not far-sighted enough and they are just doing this to remain in power, etc. What I hear you say is that here is opportunity for technopreneurs and innovators. Now you know that the women has some amount of money in hand today, which was not there earlier.
Yeah.
So let's say if a dole of 1,000 rupees is being given by the government to the women, to each woman in a village or in the rural sector. Now, along with that, if you can provide something, people who are innovating can provide something where that 500 rupees may be spent. Out of 1,000 rupees, if 500 may be spent on something which is an investment which will give them immediate returns using their their agricultural and their background, then you have a revenue model. You have a ready-made revenue model. You can connect it with this dole that is being given and say that, this is how you spend it. Did you see?
This is one thing. And second thing is that now if you visit any agriculture university, you will find 60% of them are the female student. Any agriculture university, even somewhere it is 80%. All are female graduates, postgraduates, and doctorate are more than 60% now.
But this is something I would want to kind of go a little more into, because the students who study in agricultural universities somehow seem to be more and more not getting into farming. As I see a lot of people
No,
in BCKV.
I'm telling you, that's why if you can involve them for a startup ecosystem,
Yes.
so they can, I'm not telling they will go and do the
Do the-
farming, but if their brains if utilized for startup economy, because many of them are the girls, they can give you a solution which might be appropriate for the women farmer-centric farmer or for the boys also. So that way you can think it.
So that's again, all of you who are listening to this, if you are part of that, that category which we just described, that the 60% of the students who are studying in agricultural universities are women, are girls. If you are one of them, you should be even a little more focused on empowering the women of this nation, of this country, to become better women farmers. There is an inherent proclivity towards that, is what I would assume. Well, lot of good inputs, and this is the kind of thing that I hope that this is not the only conversation that we have, and I hope to get you back every once in a while, Jayanta. As you can understand, to me he's not just Mr. Jayanta Chakraborty, but he is Jayanta for me, and he's been with supporting our endeavors in a very, very important and profound ways for a long time, patiently waiting for to see how all these things that we are trying to do gets more impact. So we will sign off today with this hope and wish that we will have many more of these conversations, and you will also be a catalyst to bring more people onto this Vatika and this our series of podcasts focused on, especially on agricultural innovation.
Thank you, Sourabh.j, and my pleasure, and I'm hopeful of your success, that it will go far reach and bring prosperity to the nations. Namaskar.
Thank you so much.